Just thinking about it. Perfect. Hello. Yes, we seem to be live now. Perfect. I'm live on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Nope. YouTube. And Instagram just seemed to be a bit slow. Let's try again. Bear with me, everyone. Thank you for joining, though. We'll start in just a second once Instagram has gotten going. All right, so let's see you're joining. Hello, Instagram. You're here. You're back. Wonderful. Hello. Now, hello, everyone. Now that we're all here, we can start. So do forgive me if I cough a little bit during this. I've just gotten over like a 3-week-long throat infection, which was as horrendous as it sounds, but there was some much needed healing that needed to take place there. So I was very thankful for that when that came through. In hindsight, I'm thankful for that. At the time, I get very frustrated when I'm ill and poorly, like I'm so bored, I don't want to do stuff. But alas, if I cough or need to drink more, do forgive me. It's just me getting over a throat infection. So hello, those of you who have joined us and don't really know who I am. My name's Rebecca, and I am the Mother Priestess and founder of the Temple of Cornwall. And with that comes lots of lovely responsibilities and joy and creation. And this is one of the creations. This is the Temple Talks. So these Temple Talks are created. They've gone through a bit of an evolution in the past 12 months. And I love that. So this year, they're going to be slightly different, or for the foreseeable future anyway, they're going to be different. So if you remember last year, I would kind of talk at you about a subject that I had chosen for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and then leave you with the temple energies for like 10 minutes. But this year, if you go over to the temple's Instagram stories once a week, you'll be able to kind of vote for whatever topic you want, which is really exciting. I love getting your feedback. So the Spirit of Cornwall, which is what this week's Temple Talk is all about, has won by somewhat of a landslide. Yeah, somewhat of a landslide it won by. So this is what this talk's all about, is the Temple of Cornwall. And at the end, rather than kind of leaving you alone with the temple energies to kind of meditate on your own and kind of do what you want, I'll actually take you through a guided meditation, a short one, small but mighty, to go and meet the Spirit of Cornwall, which I'm really excited to start offering like little freebie versions of guided meditations, because I do them all the time, like really beautiful, long, well-crafted ones on the Patreon. Hi, everyone that's joining. Yeah, on the Patreon, I offer guided meditations a lot. They're quite popular. But there's no chance to kind of offer the little like bite-sized freebies. So I'm really happy to do that for you guys now. Just checking Facebook because the comments never really want to show, but they seem to be. Beautiful. So yes, this temple talk will look a little bit different, but in a much better, more expansive way. So before we begin, I will take, there's always a tea light on the temple's altar, and it's always lit in honor of the community that we have around us. And this, whatever platform you're on, on all the platforms you can see, this green candle here, that one, there you go. This one is the Sacred Flame of Cornwall. Now, this flame itself was created and started in a deeply profound and sacred ceremony in like Ostara 2020 when the temple was founded. And the flame has come to represent peace, hope, connection, sisterhood, brotherhood, sacred siblinghood, a real connection to land, a care for the land, and also empowerment as well. So I will light that. It was kind of low now, so I'll light it with a match from the Sacred Flame of Cornwall in honor of you all who are joining us, whether live or on the replay. I light this flame for you, my beloved community, the temple's beloved community. May the sacred flame, hi everyone that's joining. May the sacred flame bring you the connection to this land and to its energies that you so desire. And may the Spirit of Cornwall visit you and connect with you and hopefully make you feel loved and full of blessings. So that will burn on the altar until the end of the Temple Talks. So the Spirit of Cornwall, let me take a drink first because I've been speaking for God, not even 10 minutes yet, and I'm already coughing from my old throat infection. So beautiful. So, apologies if you can hear my dogs barking. I recently got a puppy, and she is an absolute gremlin monster beast, and I love her so much. So if you can hear her barking downstairs, she's just playing with her sister. So the Spirit of Cornwall. What can we learn about the Spirit of Cornwall? So let me come at this from how I discovered the temple. Discovered is a big word. Came to connect with the Spirit of Cornwall. So that ever since I was a little girl, and I'm talking like baby, me and my mum and dad would always drive down from Manchester, if you can't tell from my accent, that's where I'm from Manchester once or twice a year. And down here, I would always, this felt like home. Where I am now in Cornwall always felt like home. Manchester never felt like home. You know, when I lived in Italy, whilst that was lovely, not complaining, but that wasn't my true spiritual home. This was, and leaving Cornwall always felt so desperately sad. I mean, even more so when you think about emo teenage Becky, that was incredibly sad for me leaving Cornwall. And it was quite common for me to cry, really, at any age. I mean, now if I have to go across the Tamar, take a deep breath. It's okay, we're coming back, everything's fine. Yeah, so it was always that connection that drew me to this place. And it was that I didn't have the words to describe what I was connecting to or with at the time, but there was this real, almost palpable connection to the land, and it was always the energies of the land that drew me in. And when, I mean, you can all read about the story of the creation of the temple on the website if you want to. The website is linked depending on what platform you're on, different places, but around the screen somewhere they will be linked if you want to go read that. So yeah, during that really initial, that first ceremony that kind of exploded the temple forth into the world in a beautiful way, it was then that the Spirit of Cornwall came to me it was the first time I kind of properly channeled, I would say, like oracled, like, you know, was the voice for the divine, if you want to see it that way. And that was the first time that it gave me its name of the Spirit of Cornwall. You know, it's not a specific known deity. You know, it's not Ceridwen who presides over Cornwall. It's not just, you know, Lugh who rules over Cornwall. It's the land energies that creates the deity and all the different aspects that go into the Spirit of Cornwall, which I'll talk about a little bit later on as well. So the Spirit of Cornwall, what does it represent? Why, you know, how does it come to us? How is it perceived? So for me, it's a very balanced being. It's very, you know, with the Spirit of Cornwall at its kind of baseline, it's kind of automatic, if you like, automatic default. That's the word I'm looking for. At its default, it is this very balanced, peaceful, but joyful energy. It's a very inner child sort of energy. It's beautiful. And this balance, I tend to see it come to me as a genderless sort of deity. And by that, I mean, depending on what you need, it will present itself to you as either masculine in nature, feminine in nature, neither, or non-binary. And obviously it's quite fluid in nature as well. And that's not to say that this is a deity of like the LGBTQ community. It's not the, like, there are deities that are much, I don't know, like it's not a don't know how to phrase this. It's a lovely deity to work with no matter your orientation, but it's not made for that, if that makes sense. It's not. I would go to Bridie for kind of like queer deities. She's a beautiful one, real, that kind of activism, love all kind of energy. So she's a beautiful one to go to. So yeah, the Spirit of Cornwall is balanced in kind of gender energies, I suppose, and feminine, masculine energies. It's very balanced. And also YouTube. Oh no, it's just something going on. So yes, balanced in energies and gender, and the gender energies there as well. And when I speak of the balance as well, you can also, you'll see later on when I go into the different aspects of the Spirit of Cornwall, you'll see that you can experience the deepest, darkest shadows with the Spirit of Cornwall. And you can also experience the brightest, highest joys ever, but it's always, its aim is to bring you back to this sort of level, peace, content in this now moment, enjoying all the beauty, or the abundance, love that surrounds you at every single now moment, whilst supporting you and sometimes taking you to the lows and the highs as well, so that you can appreciate the balance of the middle. So like I said before, it is also kind of at its baseline very hopeful and very joyful. It is that very, chilled, but very Cornish vibes. I mean, our kind of slogan, if you like, our catchphrase is I'll get it done directly, which means never. So it's like very like chill, taking things quite slowly, enjoying the slower pace of life. And also the connection with the land more as well. I mean, because we have an abundance of beautiful countryside in this county, which I hope stays that way, if not increases, we can afford to live a slower lifestyle. Many of us can anyway. It's not a privilege afforded to all, but for many of us, we can, afford to grow our own fruit and veg in the garden. We can go foraging just around the corner for mushrooms if you want. There's an abundance of connection to nature available to us, which is amazing. And it is that's another thing that Spirit of Cornwall helps us with, is connecting into the land energies, the land deities as well. So I've been speaking quite a lot. I'll take another drink. Thank you for being so patient with me with getting over my throat infection. It's meant a lot that you've all been okay with me having like 3 weeks off just to convalesce on my ill bed. But yes, so the aspects of the Spirit of Cornwall, you've heard me probably speak about that quite a bit now. Just checking on the other platforms. You're all good. Perfect. Yes, the aspects. So there's 8 different aspects to the Spirit of Cornwall. And these are different kind of fellow deities or elementals that kind of go into the wheel of the year of the Spirit of Cornwall and makes it this beautiful concoction of perfect Cornish energies. So we'll start at Imbolc, because that's, 2 weeks away now? That's terrifying. That's terrifying that Imbolc's 2 weeks away, but alas, here we are. So Imbolc is just around the corner. And at Imbolc, we find the aspect of the Spirit of Cornwall are the Cornish Knockers. Now, for those of you who don't really know who the Cornish Knockers are, I won't tell the full story here because it's a lovely bit of Cornish folklore. But the basics of it is that the miners, when mining was our main trade here in Cornwall, whether it be tin or clay, the miners, whenever there was about to be a collapse in the mines, or something would go awry, like a gas would leak or something, then they would hear a knock, 3 raps on the walls, around the earth around them, and they would know then that it was time to leave. This is their version, our version of like the yellow canary down in the mines. This is, I think that knock set my dog's barking. Well, that's quite naughty of me. Luckily, there's somebody down there looking after them who can calm them down. This is our version of like the yellow canary, except it's the Cornish Knockers. So these little delightful things are a part of the fairy family. And they are, I'd probably more put them with like gnomes or goblins kind of looking creatures. They're lovely little squat, and do that, like, how tall I am, like a couple of feet high, if that. And they're dressed like miners, but they've got big, like long, wide noses and really long faces. And they have the hard hat. They have the uniform and everything. And there's this piece of folklore and superstition, I suppose, that still sticks with me. I don't know about other people watching, if you're in Cornwall, if you do this, but whenever you're on a walk somewhere, we'll always leave a bit of pasty or a bit of our food for the knockers, whether we're in a mine or not. I mean, y'all shouldn't be in mines, that's dangerous. But on your walks, you leave a piece of pasty, because the miners would give their pasties as an offering to the knockers to call on their protection, to call on their abilities of like foreboding, of casting omens. They would call on them for that. And they would, again, pasties have their own folklore, which is a beautiful thing. But we all know what a pasty looks like, I'm sure, a Cornish pasty. So the crust would never be eaten, because that, if you think of miners, you've got grubby hands and you don't really want to be like eating whatever you've been digging out of the the earth. If you're a miner anyway. If you're a potato farmer, then yeah, that's great. but they would always leave the crust, and it was the crust that they would leave for the knockers. And like I said, they would do that to call on the energies of protection. And that is precisely what the knockers do. Now they are they come back to life. They start coming back energetically at Imbolc, because as you all know, Imbolc is when spring sort of thinks about starting. It's thinking about it. It's getting in the mood for it. So the life is just starting to creep back up from under the earth. And with that comes the energies of the knockers. So whenever you need protection, whether it's from like a physical thing that's going on around you, or you want spiritual protection, or just protection, in Cornwall, particularly on the moors, we get so much mist at such little notice that it's quite common for people to just get lost. And in the past, many people have just disappeared, especially before phones were a thing. People just seem to walk into the mist and never return. Which, I mean, if I was going to have like a mystical end to my life, that's how I'd want to go. I just want to disappear into the mist and never be seen again, belong to the fairies. But yeah, so they would, people would get lost on the moors quite a lot. So if you want protection on walks, or, if you're going on a hike that you've not been on before and you'd like some guidance and some protection there, then the knockers are who you can call, and they are an aspect of the Spirit of Cornwall that you can call on to ask for that protection. Bear with me, please. So then we move on to Ostara, and there we find the elementals of the Cornish Fae. Now, these creatures have my heart, and they will have it till the end of my days, my existence as a soul in the cosmos. Yeah, the Cornish Fae are different from what you might think or know of other like local elemental fairies. So if you know Irish fairies, for example, they are, I don't want to speak ill of them because that's that's not good, but they are very we rightfully have a lot of superstitions surrounding them, I think is the nice way to say that. And also, like I said before, I'm from Manchester, and the fairies we had and what little nature we had in Manchester were a bit rough and tough, a bit ready to rumble. But Cornish fairies are so different. There's no need to have all these rules and rigmaroles with them. They just coexist with us as peacefully as we coexist with them. If we start destroying the land, they'll destroy whatever you've built on top of it. They've got no problem doing that. But if we work in harmony and sort of in coalition with them, then that creates this beautiful kind of symbiotic relationship with them. So they really are carers of the earth, especially of Cornwall, other than being Cornish fairies. But they very much are carers of the earth, and how we respond to the earth, help the earth, heal the earth, all that lovely stuff as well. And they're also extremely playful. As all good fairies, they love a good party, which is no surprise. And you may hear tales of certain types of fairies that, if you come upon a fairy party, don't dance with them, don't drink with them, don't, partake in their food. And that's utter tosh with the Cornish Fae. I won't go into detail now because I'm already waffling. I'm waffling, but that's fine. That's what you're here for. When I was quite youngish, I had an experience with the Cornish Fae where I did drink, I did dance with them. And the worst thing that happened to me was my sense of direction has been way off kilter since. Me and my friends call it being divinely guided, but it just means I don't know where I'm going and we're absolutely lost. Get the sat nav out because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's the worst thing that happened to me, and I'm A-okay with that. It just means I tend to be led to where the fairies are, which is a lovely thing to be on a walk. And they're obviously very playful with their parties and love to dance and sing, and they're very expressive with themselves, that they're very creative beings. And with that, they are a beautiful aspect of the Spirit of Cornwall to work with when you want to kind of embrace your inner child or do some inner child healing. They're a beautiful creature elemental to call upon to do that. So then we move on to Beltane. Beltane, that is my time of year. I come to life at Beltane. I adore it the whole of summer, but yeah, Beltane is my jam. And at Beltane, we find the god Cernunnos. He is one of the aspects of the Spirit of Cornwall. Now, for those of you who don't know the name Cernunnos or don't know that god, and he's the horned guy in pagan tradition. If you've ever been to the Witchcraft Museum in Boscastle, you know the beautiful big like half goat, half man in the robe up in that. He was up in the back room, but I think they've moved it all around, or are moving it all around. But if you've been, you'll know who I mean. But yeah, him. That's a version of Knonos, if you like. And he is very. He is the wild man of the woods of the. You know, when you get so deep into the woods that you're pretty sure a human hasn't, like human eyes have not witnessed these parts for years. It's him that presides over that kind of, very nature, very wild, almost dangerous in an exciting way. He's very much a lover of the wild as well. And he's somebody who is very, again, he's another protector, but more, I mean, the Knockers will protect you, whenever you ask them to. But the Knonos, he will protect you if you're doing sacred work out on the land. So, for example, I'm a sacred celebrant, so I do a lot of ceremonies out on the land. And I always call Knonos in to protect the sacred space and to protect, if I'm feeling a bit, we all have those days where I'm feeling a bit shy and don't want to be perceived by anyone ever. On those days when I'm doing sacred work out and about, I'll ask him to kind of keep me shielded, kind of like wrap me in an invisibility cloak so that nobody, like, some ramblers stumble upon me and we're both shocked, a bit like deer in headlights. He will kind of hide you from sight in that way. And especially as a woman who sometimes likes to work alone on the land, there are, times when it's, unfortunately, in this day and age, as a woman, it's not safe to practice your magic and your connection outside. And calling on Knonos then is a fantastic way to call in that sense of safety he builds in that protection network around you. I have another drink before we move on to Aletha. So yes, Knockers, Cornish Fae and Knonos. And then we come on to Aletha, Midsummer. And at Midsummer, we find the mermaid priestesses of Lyonesse. Now, when I say mermaid, I'm sure you've all got an image in your head of something quite bright and bubbly in Disney, which is beautiful. I mean, I spent so many years wanting to be Ariel, desperately trying to be Ariel. As you can tell by the hair, long and red. But apologies. Let me mute myself. Okay. I'm so aware I'm going to mute myself on two other platforms and not you, Instagram, so I do apologise. Yes, there we are. Letha, yes, mermaid priestesses of Lyonesse, but they're darker. They're not what you would call sirens. They're not all about luring sailors and fishermen to their death. That they're so ancient in their presence that they vibrate at a very different frequency. That's a bit, when I say slower than ours, that's not to say it's like it's a lower vibrational frequency and therefore it's bad. It's just a much more, like with the waves, that is their frequency. However quick the waves are coming in and going out and coming in and going out, that's their frequency, very rhythmic and almost melodic as well. And there's a whole folklore story, or like mysticism myth story that goes with them, that tells of how their temple sunk on Lyonesse and how they've been turned into mermaids, into these kind of, I say darker aspect of mermaid. They're not scary, but they very much know their boundaries and are very much, they will invite you in if they want to invite you in, but you cannot just come into their space and presume to have access to it, which is a wonderful way to be. And that is something that they can help you with, is that empowerment and the levels of boundaries that we should all have more of in life as well. But yes, so the mermaid priestesses and how they became mermaids because of their dedication to the temple and how they tried to rescue it at the end of their lives and of the temple's life. And there's still the story that the temple of Lyonesse sits just off somewhere between Land's End and the Isles of Scilly. And on a misty day, if you hear a bell toll, that's the bell of the temple of Lyonesse. So the mermaid priestesses of Lyonesse, along with helping us with empowerment and kind of knowing our worth and kind of instilling the sense of boundary setting and being getting comfortable with that, rather, they very much instill within us, our kind of priestess wisdom, or priestex, priest, whatever you prefer. But our priestess wisdom for Cornwall, as being a priestess of Cornwall, it all comes from the mermaid priestesses of Lyonesse. So they are the aspect of the Spirit of Cornwall for, for Letha. And then we move on to Lammas, which is another time of year that I just love. It's like late summer, everything's just golden and warm and luxury and luscious and delicious. And at Lammas, we find that the Cornish aspect, Spirit of Cornwall aspect is Ker, the goddess Ker. Now, she's a mother goddess, and she's this kind of ever pregnant, but I've never been pregnant, but I've been told that the second trimester is the most fun. So she's this kind of, ever pregnant in her second trimester, glowing, always nude or in that very sheer or golden, beautiful kind of draped dresses and fabric, and just absolute luxury. Imagine like a really luxury mum. That's her, that's Ker. And with her energies of mother and being so eternally pregnant, she can really help us tap into the energies of unconditional love and abundance in all its forms, and compassion as well. It kind of goes hand in hand with the unconditional love. Now, unconditional love is something that I think humans are capable of, but it takes, unless we're taught it and witnessed it from a very young age, it's something we have to consciously go, God, that man just jumped in front of me in the queue. Don't fight. It's fine. He's probably got, a sick child to get home to or whatever. Just let it be, kind of consciously have to think about, no, I love all unconditionally. All people are worthy of love, but you've got to think it through. You've got to be conscious with it. So Ker can really help us. If you can't tell by my accent, by the way, it's Ker, Ker, however you like to pronounce it. She can really help us kind of remember to be conscious of the unconditional love. And also a lot of self-love comes from Ker as well. A lot of, being unconditionally loving and gentle and kind to yourself as well comes from her. And the abundance, and when I say abundance, a lot of people think, oh, money, an abundance of money, and that's beautiful. Absolutely. Ker can help you with an abundance of financial, prosperity. But she's got to think this is the time of the first harvest, or at least here in Cornwall it is anyway, because we're a good month ahead of some of the rest of the country. So she's the abundance of the harvest. She's the grain goddess. So she is abundance of, like I said, money, but also friendships and relationships, and abundance of opportunities to progress or expand or growth, opportunities for healing. She is just an abundance of all the joy, all the goodness, all the richness of life is Ker. So she's one of my, I love all these aspects dearly, obviously, but I just, there's something so special and delicious about Ker's energies that just really sit nicely with me. Have another drink before we move on. How long have I been talking? Half an hour. Okay, so about halfway through-ish, the talk and the meditation, which should do at the end. So then after Lammas, we come to Mabon, which is, as I'm sure you all know, kind of the the beginnings of spring, autumn, beginning to kind of creep in and settle in. And this is the time of the Cornish Dragons. Now, I love me some dragon energy. You can't go wrong with them, in my opinion. They can help with so much. But the Cornish Dragons are very have a lot of profound knowledge when it comes to kind of renewal and rejuvenation. As in, they will help you kind of burn things down to embers, and from that build a new fire, a new passion, a new skill, hobby, relationship, whatever it is that needs burning down, whatever beliefs that are holding you back. So say if it's a romantic relationship, say your negative belief about them is, I'm not worthy of love, which I hope isn't your belief, because you're all worthy of love. But let's pretend that that's your kind of irrational negative belief about yourself. You can call on the Cornish Dragons to help you burn that belief down, to go through the shadow work quite gently. For dragons, they're very quite placid, quite docile until they don't need to be, until they're very much called upon to be quite like laser sharp focused with their fiery breath. Again, this is Cornwall. We do things at a very slow and luscious pace here. Say your irrational negative self-belief about romantic relationships is, I'm not worthy of love. you can ask them to kind of help you work through the shadow work, bringing that belief down to literally just charred embers. And from that, you can then call on them to kind of encourage you and help you kind of build a new loving relationship from that. So, your new belief, you would ask them, from the embers of the old fire, please bring to life my new belief of I am totally worthy of love. Of course I am. And the best love. Tom Hiddleston level love. If you like Tom Hiddleston. Just giving away one of my celebrity crushes there. But yes, sort of the grand love that you don't think you're worthy of right now, that you would be worthy of them. And this, burning down any sort of attachments as well. If you're somebody who does a lot of energy work and you find that whether yourself or your clients, if you do it professionally, have like attachments on them, the Cornish Dragons can help burn those attachments away and sort of dissolve them into the that trick that you do with those very fancy chocolates at Christmas where you light the papers on fire and just into the air, like that with the attachments, just wafts them away with a fiery breath. So after Mabon, we come to another wonderful, it's all wonderful times of years, but Samhain is another fabulous time of year, or Halloween if you prefer. And at Samhain, we find my girl, Morgana Le Fay. Now, I'll probably, at their relevant times of year, I'll probably do a whole temple talk on each of these aspects, because it'd be nice to go more in depth for you all. But Morgana Le Fay is, I always think of her as, if you come to any of my events where I, call in the elements, you'll have heard me call in Morgana Le Fay, and I always announce her arrival as Priestess of Priestesses, Sister of Sisters, Healer of Healers. And that is kind of precisely what she does. She does what it says on the tin. She is this immense healer, so visceral and raw and powerful. For me, I'm quite, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but adept, I suppose, at kind of astral projection or soul traveling, I like to call it. And whenever I go to see her, it's always such like ripping me open, taking out the rot and the raw, wherever it is, throwing it on the fire, stitching me back up. It's all very real and slightly terrifying, but it's always a sense of safety as well with Morgana Le Fay. And she's also, Morgana Le Fay, she is magic. She's feminine magic, or Celtic feminine magic personified. So we can't talk about Morgana Le Fay without talking about her skills as sort of witch or sorceress. And with her being the guardian of Samhain at this time of year for the Spirit of Cornwall, she's also amazing at helping us work through the deepest parts of our shadow selves. And even just to accept them, it's not that Morgana Le Fay would sit there and go, no, you have to turn this darkness into light. You have to do da-da-da-da-da. She'll just sit there and help you accept the darker parts of yourself. And then whatever you want to do from there, she'll help you with. If you're just happy accepting it, beautiful. If you want to alchemize it into something else, amazing. Come round a cauldron and she'll help you with that. So yeah, Morgana Le Fay is a mighty, powerful witch, priestess, sorceress, seductress. She's amazing. I love her so much. So then the final aspect of the Spirit of Cornwall comes in at Yule. And we can't talk about Cornwall without talking about our lovely, beloved Merlin. I'll take another drink. Help my throat infection. Yeah, for those of you who are just like popping on and joining us, I'm just getting over like a 3-week throat infection. So I'm just coughing a little bit every now and then, so do excuse me with that. Yule and Merlin, yes. So Merlin, we all know Merlin. We all love Merlin. He was the kind of confidant and spiritual advisor and teacher of King Arthur and the court of Camelot, which King Arthur gets around a lot in British folklore. He's here, there and everywhere. But if you ask anyone from Cornwall, he's from Cornwall. How could he not be? Then we have Tintagel Castle, where he was conceived and born. We have Merlin's Cave right underneath the castle. The energies are so profound. And Merlin can help us tap into the energies of very ancient wisdom. And I'm talking so ancient, it's like pre-Big Bang. It's not even, ancient like Celtic ancestors. No, I'm talking like cosmological. I can't even comprehend how long ago that was. So it makes no sense to me. That's how long ago, that's how ancient he is with his wisdom. And he's also the master of alchemy as well. So like I think I mentioned with Morgana Le Fay, kind of alchemizing the light into dark, sorry, no, the dark into light, if you wanted. He can very much help you alchemize whatever you want. He's very much the weaver of fates, of destinies. He can create absolute abundance, something from nothing. He is like very kind of what I suppose we in the West would associate with like the typically godlike energies, creating something from nothing is very Christian godlike, although he's not the Christian God, obviously. But he's very, can create, destroy. He's almost quite, this is always like been in my head, but he's almost quite feminine. If you do a lot of like feminine, like womb healing work or, anything to do with your femininity, we talk a lot about, in our wombs, we have the power, or womb space rather, we have the power to create and to destroy every month. We have the power to, we're weavers as well. We're traditionally weavers. And Merlin is that, but in such a, when you meet those kind of men that are just so comfortable with their sexuality, there's not a drop of toxic masculinity about them. He's like that, but really ancient and really full of wisdom and knowledge and silence. He's a big one for the silence of life, the quietness, the sacred silence. I mean, my the students in the mystery school at the moment who are training to be priestesses and priestesses of Cornwall, they've just had their module about Merlin. So I'm sure if any of you are watching, you all know about sacred silence at this point. you've all done the priestess work. You know what that's about. But yeah, he's very much our connection to the divine, or one of the ways we can connect to the divine as well. And because he is so incredibly ancient, he's a very good kind of shoo-in, I suppose, to connect with our ancestors as well from any time period, because he's been here. He's seen it all. You can't surprise Merlin. I don't even think he'd blink twice at half the, wild stories that we could tell him. And he's also, out of the aspects listed and the deities and elementals listed, he's the one who's most commonly a spirit guide for people. When I say commonly, it's not, he is not a common spirit guide, but out of the people that we've spoken about, he is the most common out of them, if that makes sense. And that's because he is the confidant, he is the advisor, he is the teacher. So it's him that we can go to for those sort of lessons. So those make up the 8 aspects of the Spirit of Cornwall and the Wheel of the Year in Cornwall. So that was, sorry. In bulk, we have the Cornish Knockers, Ostara, the Cornish Fae, Beltane, the god Canonos, at Letha, the mermaid priestesses of Lyonesse, at Lammas, we have Kerr, Mabon, the Cornish Dragons, Samhain, Morgana Le Fay, and Yule, Merlin. And then in the centre, kind of roundabout them all, is the Spirit of Cornwall. So that brings us to the end of the talk. And I did have a guided meditation plan, but I don't know how much you guys are going to want me to do that whilst I'm like sporadically coughing. I know I'm not hacking up a lung or anything, but it's probably not what you want when you're trying to meditate. So what I think I might do is I will keep that and do it when my throat is fully healed. And I won't go live with it. I'll just upload it onto YouTube and kind of let you all know on stories that's happening, because you'll get the most out of it, I think. Is that all right with everybody? Give me like a thumbs up or a wave or something if that feels good to you. Yeah, Facebook, you're good with that? YouTube, beautiful. Instagram, we're all good with that? Yes, thank you. Perfect. So I'll upload that kind of on its own at a different date. I mean, it should only be about a week till my throat's fully healed, I would hope. Yeah, you don't want that during a meditation. So then, my lovelies, that brings us to the end of the end. Thank you so much for joining me for this first talk of 2022. And I hope this new format is much more enjoyable. You guys have been able to vote on the topic. Makes a lot more sense. It's lovely. If you want to vote for next week's, when is next week's? What am I doing next week? Because I like to aim for every Friday, but I don't put the pressure on myself that it has to be done every Friday. Yeah, the 21st. That's fine. yeah, so we'll, if you want to vote for what topic you want me to talk about next week, or you want us to talk about me in the comments, it's always open for you to kind of drop in your thoughts and your ideas as well. And then head over to my Instagram, and probably next week, beginning Monday, you can vote for whatever options you want there as well. And if you want your own sacred flame that's lit here, you can't really see Instagram. You can kind of see it. There you go. If you want your own sacred flame posted directly to you, there'll be a link somewhere around the page or in the replay where you can grab one of those as well. And these temple talks are obviously free. Hello, welcome, you're here. But if you did want to donate to the temple, because we are beginning to fundraise for in-person events, if you wanted to donate to that cause, then there is the PayPal donation link again somewhere, whatever platform you're on, somewhere around the page. So I won't promise that the guided meditation will be up next week, but I would hope my throat will be better by then, because that's going to be a month then of being poorly, and that sucks. But yeah, soon I'll put it on Instagram and Facebook stories when it's fully healed and the meditation is available to you for free. So my lovelies, thank you so much for joining me. I love this. I've been chomping at the bit to get back at these temple talks. So thank you so much, all of you. It took me a while to close down each platform, but just know that I love you all. I'm sending you so much love and Cornish blessings here from the Temple of Cornwall. Lots of love to you all. Bye. Bye, YouTube. And bye, Facebook.